All right, so at this point, this is the animation introduction. I already have a dragon that's animated, and when I press play, I can go right, I can go left, and I have a jump sequence. So we're going to take the second player, and we're going to do exactly that, but with the monkey, okay? So you're doing this for the first time. What you're going to do is open up your bell and horn, or simulated 2 keys being pressed for the second player, and you're going to take the second player that is using the simulated platform being pressed code, and we're going to add to that, okay? So, first thing we're going to do is you're going to locate the player that's the one that we're going to edit. If you're using the 2 players, 1 keyboard game, right, you have 2 players. And you want to make sure you're using the player that has the platform behavior default properties turned off, okay? So I'm going to go over to platform behaviors on the left, and I'm going to show you where you want to check that. And where it says platform default controls, it says no, okay? And then you already coded this if you're using the 2-player, 1 keyboard project, all right? If you're using just the bell and the horn, the multivariable incrementation project, we only had 1 player, and you might have just used the default platform controls. If that's the case, you're going to have to change it to no, because there's certain keys that we want to be pressed that's going to trigger the animation to play. In the default controls, you can't code that, okay? So we're going to take this player, one of the squares, and if you double-click it, you get your art editor, okay? This is a familiar area for you, okay? Here's what's not familiar. Take your art editor and maybe move the window out of the way. You'll see animation frames below it. Move that out of the way, somewhere over to the side, and then you'll see animation window, all right? So you're going to see a couple windows. Animation frames, the animations, the list of animations, and then the actual art editor itself, okay? You're going to see that on every sprite you double-click to, from here to the end of construct. It's just that up until today, we've not acknowledged the fact that we had windows hiding behind our art editor, but they are hidden behind every time, okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a player that's already programmed, and we're going to make it look like a monkey instead of the dumb square that was the placeholder for the graphics, hypothetically, if we were waiting for the art department to make our art, right? If you're developing the game and you're coding it, you're not the art department. The art department's going to send you some artwork. In the meantime, you're going to have a square replace the artwork that's not in yet, right? If Evan's working on artwork and I'm working on code, I'm not going to wait for Evan to finish the artwork before I start coding. I'm going to code with a square. And then this is how you swap it out. So hypothetically speaking, Evan or anybody has finished our artwork and we're going to load it in. So you have to get to your art editor and organize your windows as I've shown in here in the video, and then you're going to click this little folder right here. I'm making a little circle kind of like point to it, okay? There's a folder that says load artwork, right? Load an image from a file. So if you click this, okay, you can then find a file, and then that will be a static image. If I were to choose this bow and arrow right now, it would be a single frame. And the single frame wouldn't animate. As we've learned, frames obviously build the animation, so we need a bunch of them. So that's not exactly where we go. But if you just had a simple static image that you wanted to replace, that's how you do it. We're going one step beyond. So back to the art editor, move it out of the way. Here's my animation frames, and here's my animation that's default. All right? So first, let's go to the default animation and load a frame for the dragon that's just going to be standing. We don't have an idle animation for this dragon, or this monkey. We're actually using a monkey. Sorry, I did the dragon. So we're going to right-click anywhere in the animation frames window that's blank, and then you're going to go to import frames, and you're going to import a frame from file, not the strip. The strip is our next step. So we're going to go file first, and now you don't know where to go at this point. Okay, so here's where to go. You're going to click on Conard Share on the left. So first, this PC, Conard Share, Then you're going to scroll all the way down to the trust folder alphabetically. And here's where I already organized these files so that it's convenient for you. So we have Dragon Walk, Flip Walk, and Night Walk. Those are strips. Those are sequences. We can't choose those. We want a still frame that the dragon is just happily standing there. So I want you to go to Teaching Files. I want you to go to 2018, 2019 Game Files. And there's Flip the Monkey. This is where we're going to go in the future when we do this project in its entirety. But at the moment, we're just going to go here to steal a simple dragon frame where the monkey frame where the monkey's not walking. It's just a standard image. So we're going to go to Flip the Monkey, Assets. Now here's all the stuff the game's made up. And now if you can't see what I see, if you drop this down, switch it to like large or medium, but make sure it's not on like a list because you can't see if it's a strip or if it's a single file. So we're going to switch the view to like large or extra large, and we're going to look for the single image. It's called Flip, okay? It looks like a single image. It's next to Fireball, alphabetically speaking, okay? And you know it's not a strip because it's not a bunch of little ones in a sequence, right? So it's called Flip. Just say okay. These graphics have been prepared for you, all right? Now, if you said okay, you're going to see you have a green square and you have a monkey. We don't want animation 0 through 1 to play because the monkey's literally going to flash into a green square. He's going to like glitch out and be half square, half monkey. We don't want a hybrid half square, half monkey. We just want, when we're not pushing keys, we're going to play the default animation, which is just stand there. So we got to right click on 0 and go to delete. Now default animation just has Flip standing there. So here's where the meat and potatoes comes from in this lesson. We're going to add a strip. So you're going to right click on your animations window. So find your animations window. You're going to right click and you're going to add an animation, and we're going to call it walk with a capital W. W-A-L-K. You have to spell it the way you're going to code it, or you have to code it the way you're going to spell it. So don't come up with a crazy animation name or smash the keyboard and then expect later when you're coding to actually spell your animation correctly. You're not going to, okay? So the word walk or jump, something short, sweet, and simple will spell success for you. Anything complex will be hard to manage, okay? So click on your walk animation and all your frames are going to disappear, and so is your art, because that is the walk animation. If we were to play this right now and say when the key is pressed, play walk, your player will disappear, and then when you let go of the key, your player will reappear because there's no animation for walk. So we have a walk animation. Your animation frames window has nothing in it. It says 0. Anything we start with, we'll start with 0. We're going to add the walk sequence. So you're going to right click, you're going to go import frames, and you're going to this time alternate, and you're going to switch import frames from strip. Okay, it's not a sheet. Sheet is different than a strip. Okay, we're going to do a strip. It's basically a row of pictures. So insert from strip, and then it's going to say where. So once again, you're going to go to the trust folder on the share drive, and this is what I've prepared for you. Flip walk is already there. So select flip walk from the trust folder on the share drive and import that strip. There's something you need to know about this strip though, so don't answer the next question until I show you what this file looks like. I'm trying to show you. There we go. Okay. You don't have to look at it at the moment, just trust me, but this is the file. If you look at the file that you're importing, how many frames is in this strip? Everyone look up on the screen if you don't have it on yours yet. How many monkeys are on that screen?
8.
How many? 8. Okay. Construct needs to know how many there are. 8. So there's 8 in that row. How many columns are there? There's 8 columns, 1 row, 1 horizontal row. So you have to know that. So obviously when you're importing your artwork, you need to know a little bit about your artwork. So I'm telling you right now that this artwork is 1 row with 8 frames, okay? If you put in a sprite sheet that's more than 1 dimension, maybe there's 16, it's 4 by 4, right? You have to look at how it's divided up. So there are 8 rectangles exactly the same size next to each other with a monkey in each one that occupies each frame that when played in sequence will show you that it looks like it's walking. This sprite strip was specifically made for Construct. Not all sprite strips are created equal. All right? So, anyway, this is how we do it. So we're going to click flip walk and say open, and here's the reason why this was an important thing for me to bring up a minute ago. It says number of vertical cells. That's our row. We have 1. All right, number of horizontal cells. How many do we have horizontally going across? We already just said it was 8. So if you say 1 and 8, 8 horizontal, 1 vertical, and say OK, your sprite will populate in your animation window. Starting with 0, because it was already there, and then ending with 8, and we got to delete 0. Because if we don't delete 0, flip is going to glitch out every 9th frame. It's going to disappear for a fraction of a second. So you want to right-click on 0, and you want to delete that frame. And when you delete that frame, you will basically be able to basically play this animation when you want to, okay? So for the sake of time, we're not going to do a jump sequence, but we do have a walk sequence and we have a default sequence. So the only thing we need to do now is make sure that the computer grabs our animation by its feet. Okay, this is a walk animation, so it should be standing on the ground, and it should have an object point that the computer can grab. Because remember, the computer doesn't see what we're doing. It needs like a point, an XY position to say this is the bottom of the frame. So watch what I do and then follow with me. So we're going to right-click on walk animation. Sorry, we're not going to right-click. We're going to click this button right here above your object mask. It says set origin and image points. Another window is going to pop up. Doesn't look like it's important, but it's very important. It says origin here. You're just going to right-click on it and go down to quick assign and choose bottom. Not bottom left, not bottom right, but bottom. Bottom will be the middle, okay? Since this is a character and it's going to be walking, its bottom middle should be the origin point. So we select bottom, and you're going to see this tiny little point go to the bottom where his feet are, okay? If I zoom in, just for the lesson's sake, and show you, this tiny little point right here is the bottom image point. Now that's just one frame. We have 7 or 8 frames to go. So what we do now is we right click after it's been assigned to the bottom. We then say apply to all animations. So even if you had like 7 other animations loaded for different behaviors like power up and death and jump and idle and sleep, this would apply them to all of them. Bottom, middle, and say yes. So all my frames, including the default, has a bottom, middle, origin point that the computer is going to use as a handle. It can grab onto the animation. It knows when it's standing on stuff. Okay? So now we're going to close it. And now our square is now a happy-looking monkey. If I were to press play, right, and try to move them, nothing's working. I have obviously A and D and W for this one, okay, because I was using mine as a demo. You're going to code yours to A and D and W, just like this one, okay, just like you learned before. But since I already did those keys and I don't want to use the arrow keys, I could kind of map them to like I, J, and L, right? Another set of areas on the right-hand side, okay? But that's what it should look like when you run it. The monkey's just standing there waiting for you to animate them, okay? The frames are already in, so all you have to do is code. So at this point, this would be a good opportunity to do file, save as a single file, and then you should call this, you know, animation lesson, something along those lines. So I'm going to do animation. I'm going to call it walk animation, so that if in the future I'm doing some sort of project and I need to look up how to do a walk animation, this is all that this project will have. I did file, save as a single file. I'm giving it a new name because you might have opened this from a previous project such as incrementation or simulated 2 keys or 2 players, okay? You should have all these like little projects saved in your folder for future reference. And the exam is coming up next week, right? And I'm going to pass out the details this week. All right. So at this point, we're going to go to the event sheet. And if you look at what I did in the beginning of my lesson, when A is pressed, when D is pressed, when W is pressed, you know how to do this. The only thing is, you are only simulating walking and simulating, you're only simulating the movement, such as simulate platform pressing right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set an animation to go to the name of what we actually just created. We created a walk animation, and we have a default animation. All right? So I'm going to hide my drag and walk, and we're going to ignore drag and walk. We're going to add an event for, obviously, your monkey. Your monkey now is present, okay? So we can't just say the event is the monkey walking. The event is going to be the keyboard, and the keyboard is going to trigger this event. So first we have to say when the keyboard has a specific key being pressed. That's what turns on the animation. Think about all the games you play. Those animations don't happen unless you press keys or unless something hits you. So first thing we do is we add an event for a keyboard. Okay, and we say next. The question is going to be, well, what is this event? Well, this event is going to be, well, the key is down. And you're going to say next. And the question the computer is going to ask you at this point, this is all review, what's the key that you want to trigger this? So it doesn't matter what game you're making and so forth. You should understand at this point, whatever you choose here is going to be the one that makes the character walk. I don't care what key you choose. So I'm going to choose L. So I'm going to do J for left, I'm going to do L for right, and I'm going to do I for jump. Because I already did the A and the D and the W for my demo. Okay? So I'm going to do right. So I'm going to choose L by clicking. I'm going to say done. You can choose your own key. I don't care what key you choose. If you want to do my exact key, that's fine too. It'll work. So you're going to say done. I don't want to have to type this again. So I'm going to hold Control and click and drag and make a duplicate. It's just going to say L is down. Obviously, I'm going to double click L is down, click the L, and change it to J. We're not going to do a jump sequence for this lesson, so we're just going to do two, left and right. So I have L for right and J for left. That's it. This is review from previous class. So now we add the action. So we're going to go action, and since we're doing the monkey, you should find the visual looking like monkey sprite that's there. Mine happens to be player 2. All right? Because I already did my dragon as an example. So you're choosing the monkey, and you're going to say next, right? And first we got to get movement. Remember we did simulate, right? So we type in simulate, control, and if you're using a previous project, the reason why simulate control is there is because the platform behavior was added to it. If you're starting from the scratch, you would need to create a sprite that has the platform behavior for this to happen, right? So we're going to click next, and I think I did this for the L key, so I want to go to the right. I'm going to say done. I don't have to do that again. I'm going to hold Control and drag it down to the J and double click pressing right and change it to left. See how fast that was versus doing it from the ground up? If left is the same as right, it just has to say the opposite. You can just hold Control and drag a copy of the code, right? That's faster. So at this point, we have movement, but the animation isn't called. So this is back to where we did two players, one keyboard. Now this is how we call the animation we just built. So we're going to go to the right. So let's add action for the player. That looks like the monkey. Click next, and you're going to do set animation. So type in set, S-E-T, and then type in A-N-I. Set animation will be the only thing that's filtered now. Say OK. And when I asked you this is important, or when I mentioned it's important that you name your animations something easy, this is why it's important. In between the quotes, you have to spell that animation exactly the way you spelled it before. If you spelled it like something extra complicated, and you don't remember the case sensitivity and all the spaces, you're gonna have to undo all this and cancel and remember what you wrote. I know I typed walk, W-A-L-K with a capital W. I'm gonna play it from the beginning of the animation, and I'm gonna say done. So before I code the next step, I want to know if I press L, will my monkey look like it's walking to the right? Because maybe my artwork is backwards. I don't know. Let's find out. So hit play. If I press L, oops, He walks, but he's still moving. Watch what happens when I just touch it. See, he's still walking as soon as I just poke it. So we want the animation to stop when I'm not pressing the key. And also when I press J, he just goes backwards. He doesn't really like mirror, right? So we've got an animation to trigger. We have frames that we've built. The artwork was given to us. All right, we need to mirror our artwork so that when we press J or the other direction, he flips. No pun intended. And we also want the animation to stop animating when we're not walking anymore, right? Maybe we're only walking for 4 frames and we want it to shut off. Okay, so let's enhance that, and then this video is going back out to you in a second. So at this point, it works. We have it simulated, but now we got to copy this and bring it down to the other key. So hold Control and just drag the highlighted block of code you want until you see the little white line that you see up on the screen. And then when I let go, it creates it. The problem is, we're going to get a backwards walking character. For the sake of the video, I'll show you. Forward looks normal. This does not look normal. He's kind of moonwalking. All right, we're not doing a moonwalk type of animation gameplay here. So we want to mirror it. So the question is, how do you mirror? I want to show you the code. If I can get it up, I'm sorry. That I use for the dragon. You see how it says set mirrored? And you see here it says set not mirrored? That's what we're going to do. That's what I did for the dragon, and that's what I'm going to do now for... So it's a player action, and we set it mirrored, and we set the other one to not mirrored. Okay? So the first one we did is going to be set to not mirrored. So we will do the action to the player, set mirrored. So you have to do set mirrored first. There is no such thing as not mirrored. So you hit set mirrored.
Yes, there is.
I thought you have to right click and say not.
No, there's you.
Oh, you dropped this down. Sorry. Okay, so there, once again, you're not going to be able to pull it up. So you can drop it here. So if you're typing in set not mirrored here, it's not going to pop up. So you have to type in the word set mirrored. And then the next question will be, is it mirrored or is it not mirrored? I think we're going to do it mirrored at the moment. And the other one's going to do not mirrored. All right? And then if we get it backwards, we can go back and change it. So I'm going to hold Control and drag it down below. And then I'm going to double click the word that said mirrored, and I'm going to change it to the opposite and say done. And I'm pretty sure it's backwards, but we'll find out. If it's backwards, the point is we can go back to it and change mirrored to not and not to mirrored. Okay? So we click OK, or the play button. And I'm going to bring it over to your view. If I click, if I press L, he's mirrored. So I got like the moonwalk monkey here. That's all it does. It only moonwalks. Moonwalks through the game, which might be kind of fun. You can call this game Moonwalker, right? I'm sure there is. So with that being said, we just double click mirrored, change it to not, and double click not, and change it to mirrored. That's it. One final step. Do you see how I have when A is released and D is released and W is released, stop the player's animation? That's the dragon. Well, since I have L and J, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to say when when J is released and L is released, stop animation, because I don't want any animations playing when I let go of the character, right? So it's a keyboard action. And then we're going to do on key is released. So let's see, key is down, key is pressed, on key released. Not any key, just a specific key. So the question is, what key is it? Well, obviously you have to choose the one that is tied to your walk sequence. So I'm going to do L and J. So I'll do L, say done, and I'm going to hold Control and copy this below it. And I'm going to change L to J and say done. And then the action is going to be the same. So I'm just going to copy it after I make the first action. The action is going to be for the player to stop. And if you type the word stop and have the word animations above it, it's tied to the animation. So we just say stop. And I'm going to hold Control and bring it down to this one. So when L is released and J is released, the animation will stop playing in case it's not fully done playing when I release it. So let's hit play of the test, and this is the whole thing. So I'm going to walk around as you're working on this, and you obviously want to demonstrate that this is functional before you go on to the next thing to get a grade. So I'm going to walk. I'm going to let go. See, it instantly stops. I'm going to go back and forth. As soon as I let go of these keys, he's not walking anymore, and he's not moonwalking. Life is good. I don't have any jump at the moment because I didn't program it in, okay? So I'm going to walk around and observe you do this, and then while you're doing it, hopefully you are referring back to the video that we're capturing.